I've had a lot of questions about why am I rehashing the Epstein Black Book that we've had from Hi Donna. We have had from at least 2020, but I think 2020 was when we got the unredacted version. So we've had it for a long time. Why rehash it? Why is that important? If you go online and you look up the Epstein Black Book, or if you look up an individual name, everybody and their mother they will have made their own version of it. They will have digitized it. They will have just relisted everything. They will just have copy pasted everything. Um, but I'm very analytical and I want to know who is on the list. Like, I don't want to just read your names. And now we have phone numbers. Now we have email addresses. Now we have sometimes their place of work. I want to know. I want to know who these people are because most of them, 90+% of them, are people we've never heard of. And as I have been digging into some of the conversations with Ghislaine Maxwell and some of the old articles with Jeffrey Epstein, I'm starting to see patterns. I'm starting to see names that like bounce back and forth. And so I thought, I'm going to go through it and I'm going to figure out who these people are. And I'm glad I'm doing it. It's very complicated. There are about 2,000 people, and they've added more people. They've added other pieces of other black books because this is just one of his black books. And so what I'm going through and I'm doing is I take the name, and if it's a very unique name, they're usually easy to find. It's usually easy to figure out if they were in finance or if they're like an artist. There's lots of artists. There are people on there though who own like estates and places where Epstein would stay if he visited Paris or something. Not necessarily Paris because he had a house in Paris, but there are very lesser known individuals. Something that I posted the other day was a name that was written in there was not actually somebody's name. So how do I figure that out? Well, I have an account that lets me reverse phone lookups if it's in the U.S. I can't do it if it's in France or if it's in London, which a lot of these people are. But if it's in the U.S. and they have a generally basic name, I can reverse look up the phone that's listed, and I can figure out who they are based on the people who've owned that phone number. And then I could say, oh, this shows, what their email handle was or what their, the city that they lived in, which this matches up with the city that's in the box. So I can kind of verify that way. If they're in there with a nickname, I can start to look at the other people who are surrounding that person, look for articles of those same groups of people. There's lots of like, Shutterstock, that just has like parties and pictures of people and parties, all these kind of swank New York City rich people parties. And they'll have pictures of groups of people together labeled with names. And I go, okay, so here's the two people actually together. This is the person's real name. This verifies that they hung out with this person. So now I can verify the person in the list. So it's a lot of like back checking and back checking and back checking, which I haven't seen online. Like I've seen people guess incorrectly about who people are. And I've really, really tried to be thorough. And then there's just some people that I can't find. Some people have very basic names in very big cities, and I can almost verify them, but I can't say for sure. And I don't want to list someone if I can't say for sure. What else? Oh, the main thing to think about with the Black Book, which we're not calling it Epstein's list, which it is a list of Epstein's, which, take that for what you will. The Black Book is most likely written by Ghislaine Maxwell. It's a lot of her friends and her contacts, a lot of people from London. What you have to remember about Jeffrey Epstein and the people in his circles is he was a collector of people. His intent was to have big names surrounding him, which would then build up his ego and his reputation. So when you see somebody in the Black Book, especially if they're just someone who just feels like it doesn't fit, he didn't necessarily know them. He may have crossed paths with them, but he would have made it a point if he crossed paths with them to get their contact information, because he wanted their name in his black book, because that then built up his black book and his reputation and the people that he could whip out at any time and say, I have their phone number. That was also very important to Ghislaine. Ghislaine's claim to fame is she was a socialite. She was a British socialite. And that's what they did, is they collected names, they hung around with people, but like nobody was close. Nobody was friends. And so you will see people in this list, of all different genres. So there's artists, there's finance, there's business owners, there's fashion, philanthropy, academia, that kind of thing. You will see people that you recognize. You will see actors that you recognize. Like Jimmy Buffett's on there, like musicians. Minnie Driver is on there. I don't picture Minnie Driver hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. Elie Wiesel is on there, who wrote Night. I don't picture Elie Wiesel, of all people, hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. He was probably not in his inner circle, and yet his name is in the Black Book. So, although it is difficult, I am learning to withhold my judgment for the names that I see there. There are a lot of innocent people on that list who have probably, their reputations have been irreversibly harmed by being in that Black Book, but probably couldn't, prior to this whole story, probably couldn't pick Jeffrey Epstein out of a lineup. So bear that in mind. But there's also a lot of bad guys on that list, and there's also a lot of victims on that list. And I'm hoping by vetting this information, it's just one more step in this idea that they may or may not ever give us the Epstein files, but we have a lot of files to go on. We have a ton of information. And I feel like if we look at it hard enough, we have enough to bring down like a machine. And I'm feeling really like remotivated about everything, and this idea of you can run but you can't hide. Like all this information, all these things that they did, all their reputations, all this bravado that they were so proud of in the 90s that they didn't hide, that then went the way of the internet and can never be erased. We have all that. And you cannot, like I said it before, you can run, but you cannot hide. Like, this stuff is coming for anyone involved, and very much so for the Trump administration. I believe that with all my heart. He's all over these files. I am still fighting for my FOIA to get his flight records, because two things to think about in the journey of the Epstein files is, number one, the Epstein list will be Epstein's phone. That is something that we need. Where is Epstein's phone and who was on his contacts list on his phone? Because that's going to be his list. And then number two is Trump was not carpooling, right? Maybe Trump went on Epstein's plane a couple of times, but normally if he went anywhere, he had his own plane. Like, he's not hitching a ride with Epstein. This is a big world of alpha dogs. And they're not going to be like, hey, bro, can I ride on your plane this week? No, they're going to bring their own plane, because their plane represents their money and their power and their status. And especially if other people are showing up, they're not going to be like, oh, I hitched a ride with so-and-so. They're going to bring their own plane. So the idea that Trump is not listed very much in the flight logs or going to the island or whatever isn't surprising, because he would have taken his own plane. So I want the flight logs from his plane. I don't know if I can get them. I don't know if they are accessible. But if we are going to focus in and think about prosecuting someone like the President of the United States, I'm not Antifa, by the way, then we need his flight logs. Like, we need Trump's flight logs. Anyway, this is just one of a long list of things that I'm thinking about right now. I'm taking care of my health, I promise. I'm getting my sleep. I'm eating 3 meals a day. But I'm trying to write my little patootie off. So thank you guys for my little lunchtime spiel. If you're not, I'm assuming you're all subscribers at this point if you're listening to me. But if you're not, feel free to subscribe. All my stuff is free. If you want to be a paid subscriber, I keep it at $5 because we're all broke. It's 2025. We're just trying to buy eggs. So I hope you have a great Wednesday. It's hump day. We can get through the rest of the week. And I love you all. I'll talk to you later.